Hey team, Katie here from Equestrian Movement, and today's training is called Where the Hell Did My Brakes Go? So if you have been having trouble with your horse and riding the transition to halt, then today's training is for you. So where I want to start is with this statement. Are you ready for it? Increasing bit pressure is the worst way to teach your horse to stop or get your horse to halt. I'm going to say that again. Increasing bit pressure is the worst way to teach your horse to stop or get your horse to halt. So quite typically in the industry, our idea of cue training is to increase the pressure until our horse does what we're asking them to do and then release the pressure to mark the behavior. Now this is something that doesn't work particularly well when we are looking at the bit and sometimes just pressure in general, because you need to understand, does your horse actually understand how to learn? Do they understand how to seek the pressure? Do they understand that when they give the behavior that you want, the pressure is going to go away? Are they confident in seeking different behaviors? Do you get your horse in trouble and punish them for trying different behaviors when they don't know what the correct answer is? Is your timing on point for marking the behavior through the release of pressure? Do you even release the pressure when your horse stops appropriately? There are so many factors to take into consideration that when we think about using bit pressure, just increasing the pressure of the bit is not going to communicate stop and is not going to communicate halt. So we have some prerequisites. We want to make sure that all the training in our groundwork is done well first. Does your horse understand how to find answers? Does your horse have the emotional resilience to find answers without getting frustrated, nervous, worried, or anxious? Does your horse understand how to seek the release of pressure to find the answers? Is your horse motivated to look for answers? Motivated appropriately? Are they enjoying the learning process, and are they seeking your hands for that communication? We also need to establish mental relaxation. So we want our horses to be able to self-regulate emotionally, have emotional agility, and be able to confidently find answers. And if they aren't, can they just take a breath, take a time out and try again? Or are they going to escalate and accelerate those frustration, nerves, worries, anxieties? So our mental relaxation is established on the ground and then transferred through to the saddle. April is going to give us a really nice example here of where we've worked on relaxation cues on the ground and now she's implementing them in the saddle. Once we are able to do a reset, then it's about how we structure out our repetitions to create a good work ethic. So the most important thing about achieving a positive work ethic with our horses is immense satisfaction of task achievement. So we need to make sure that the challenges are bite-sized and achievable, and we're not drilling for perfection, we are rewarding for effort, because then we are marking the effort instead of marking for the perfection of the behavior, because sometimes even our feel is off on that. So when we talk about pulling the bit for a halt and for 2 rein pressure, that our horses are only going to do what they are thinking. So quite often when we pick up the bit, our horse isn't thinking, oh, my human is asking me to stop. They're thinking, oh, there's a piece of metal in my mouth, it is uncomfortable, I do not like it, and now it's pulling, I am going to pull back. And so they lock their jaw and they lock their underneck, and then that's what we have resistance. That's where resistance comes from. So our horse is only going to stop if they're first thinking about stop. So we want to do all of our in-hand work for acceptance of contact on the ground before we transfer it into the saddle. And then what we're doing in the saddle is we're making sure that our horse is accepting the contact. So pressure is a word, and the word is follow. So single rein pressure is follow left, follow right. Two rein pressure is follow stop, follow back. And so we're trying to create and cue train those words on the ground through our cue training skills of guide the behavior, mark the behavior, reinforce the behavior, with emotional self-regulation to not get frustrated when they don't know what the right answer is, so that then when we get into the saddle, the only difference is that they then have to balance us. They already know all of the answers, and they already know how to deal with all their feels. So then we're going to go into follow the rein right, follow the rein left. Now if you're going into a turn to follow the rein right and you are seeing resistance to that rein, to a single rein aid, then there's a pretty good chance that you're going to get resistance to a two rein aid. We want to make sure that we have a nice soft flow left and right first before we go into two rein. And then we're going to structure that ask out. So we're going to start with the breathe out through the heel as our 3, a gentle 2 rein is our 2, and then a firm ask is our 1. And then rather than increasing on that ask, if they don't listen to it, we're going to go back into our turns. Follow the rein left, follow the rein right, 2 rein says stop, 2 rein says back. And so this is the basics of our cue training, and we're going to continue to do this until our horse is super confident, super happy, super chill about this conversation in the saddle before we do anything else. Because the faster we go, the faster our horse's brain goes, and the faster our horse's brains go, the less they're thinking about stopping. So if we were to pick up the trot here, we're going to do a transition to trot with the anticipation of a walk transition, so that our horse is thinking slow stop from trot to walk. If we go into a trot and our horse is thinking about go faster, go trot, like not thinking about stopping, then pulling on the reins is not going to get them to stop. So we're going to circle them into a walk transition and then bring them back into our cue training in the walk. Follow the rein left, follow the rein right, follow the rein halt, follow the rein back. Then from there we're going to be able to do those trot walk transitions, and we're trying to refine it down into the breath and the relax of the heel, so that we only need to use bit pressure in those emergency situations. So the other thing to consider is the idea that we think that just because we're pulling the reins, our horse is going to stop. Our horse is an intelligent, emotional, sentient being. If we wanted that kind of relationship, we would ride a motorbike or drive a car. We need to recognize that pulling the bit is uncomfortable for our horse, and if we're trying to control them for bit pressure, that is when we're going to create damage to the mouth and the soft tissues in their mouth. That is when we're going to escalate problem behaviors. So if they're thinking, oh, I hate the bit, pull through, run through the bit, then pulling harder is just going to get them to fight more against you and to run through the bit more. And then if you have horses that have an issue where they're going to start bucking, then pulling on the bit actually makes them buck more. So we're looking at, if there is any relationship breakdown with us and our horse, if there is communication breakdown, if there is emotional regulation breakdown, we are always and forever going to see it in relation to bit pressure, because it is an evasive and it is the most assertive that we can be in the saddle. So it is where all of the arguments are going to happen, and so we need to make sure that we have all that emotional stuff, all that emotional baggage unpacked on the ground, so that by the time we get into the saddle, we have our cue training, we have our communication, we have our self-regulation, so then it's all about just clocking up Ks. Hope you've enjoyed the training. Until next time, happy trails.